Welcome back to lesson 3 of the blues. We got this fabulous sundown here at the Valley of Fire near Overton, Nevada, that is just too fantastic to not take advantage of by doing another lesson. The rock formations here are simply amazing. If you haven't reviewed lessons 1 and 2, you might want to do so. We talked about some very valuable techniques for adding expression to notes. Now we have to figure out what notes to play. We've got 3 chords, G7, C7, or C9. They're interchangeable, by the way. And we have D9 or D7. So what we need to do is determine what notes are going to give us the most amount of emotional impact. This is a very different approach than me just sitting here telling you, just use the blues scale. That's all you need to worry about. I started playing blues like that, and I grew tired of it after a while because I felt like I was sort of trapped and in a box. I hear a lot of blues players play like that. Frankly, it bores me pretty quickly. The really good blues players are much more selective about what notes they play, when they play them, and against what chords are happening at that moment. So what I want to foster in you or share with you is the idea of targeting certain notes. Now the notes relate to the chord. So we're going to start simply with 4 pitches. So if our first chord is G7, we need to learn the pitches, where they're at in relation to that chord on all strings. So here goes. I'm going to start real simple. The bass note, the G. That's what we call the root of the chord, or also known as the 1, first note of the chord. Here's the 3rd of the chord, the B, 1, 3, we would say, and then here's the 5th of the chord. The last note in the chord is called the flat 7, and it's right there. Now you'll hear, I'm certainly in the bass range now. I just wanted to preface this by saying that you'll hear a lot of bass lines in blues that sound like. And I just came back to the octave of the first note. So that's the first octave. That's what you want to practice first. Get that in your fingers. Hit the chord and then do the arpeggio. Notice I'm sliding into some of the notes a little bit. Okay, let's go to the next octave. This is where the leads take place. This is the root, same as that low note. Root, 3rd, and 5th. We can lay all of our fingers down at one time and learn this as one shape. 1, 3, 5. And there's our flat 7. And then we're back to the root again right there. So we've got sort of 2 segments here. We've got the root, 3, 5, flat 7, 1 down on the bassier strings, and then 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 1 there. So we can repeat the arpeggio, as this is called, 2 times within this space. So I can play a very effective blues over the G chord. I added an extra note there. But I just want to target those notes when the chord is sounding. Now here's a little secret. The primary sound of the G7 chord is wrapped up in this note and its upper sibling here, which is called the 3rd of the chord, and the flat 7 right there and right here. So if I want to capture the sound of G7, I will get to those notes right away. Now remember, you can bend up to that note, slide up to that note, and of course we want a vibrato once we get there. So I can do stuff like, notice again, I've got my thumb up here, my other fingers are doing some muting, so I can be quite reckless down here with my strumming hand. And I can gain something that's really critical, and this is what's so cool about the guitar, is that we can bring in all this percussion energy like that. So I'm hitting all 6 strings, but I'm muting out every string except for string 4. Now I'm bending up to this note. Again, that's going to give me a really cool bluesy sound if I go instead of just this or this. Those are just the arpeggio tones for G7. I can also hammer into this note if I wanted. That's another expressive technique. Instead of sliding, it sounds very much like a slide. So what do you want to practice? Well, first of all, muting technique. Put your third finger there. Put your other fingers close in, especially your index. My thumb is muting string 5, so it's primarily my thumb doing the muting on the bass area, string 5, and my index muting strings 1, 2, and 3, and then of course I'm playing the G note. This takes a lot of experimenting. I mean, it's not something that happens overnight. So it's a technique really worth mastering. Thanks for joining me on the 3rd lesson of Guitar Outside.